Hey guys, Ryden here, and welcome back to the Monster Hunter Lookout. I don't know if that's what I'm going to call this, but that sounded really cool in my head as I just said it. Anyways, I want to say thank you for all your input on the first video. I mean, honestly, I think it was really cool. All the speculation I saw in the comment section, all the different things you guys informed me of, because I am not an awesome man like Gaijin Hunter. I'm not, I'm not keeping up on everything that is coming out news-wise for Monster Hunter, and you guys explaining some of the smaller details to me is really awesome, because I'm definitely not going to catch everything. There are people who are going to, like, fine-tooth and comb these trailers. I'm going to do my best, but I'm not going to be able to get everything, so you're welcome to say anything you want in the comments, or the speculation, just informing me of something I said wrong, or whatever. I'm open to it all. Secondly, I do want to make sure the series is beginner-friendly. So I will actually be explaining what each weapon kind of does and their general play style, because I want, by the end of the series, for maybe people looking to get into specific weapons, you know, they'll be informed about it. Anyways, today we have the Lance and the Longsword. These videos only released one day after the last ones, which I didn't expect, which means expect Monster Hunter videos all week long. Anyways, let's get started with Lance. Okay. It's pretty standard night set. Hey, Puke! Missed you, buddy. Alright, we still have the guards. The strong guards. I don't know what they're actually called. Okay, so first Silkbind attack. Twin Vine. Alright, so they get tethered, kind of like the dual blade one. Oh! That is actually really neat. We have Anchor Rage, which I'm going to guess this is an attack buff. That's my guess already. Oh, yeah, okay. Alright, so a few things. First off, if you're wondering what Lance plays like as a weapon, Lance is probably one of the most underused weapons in Monster Hunter in general, next to Hunting Horn. I don't mean underused as in bad. I mean underused as in there is a weapon in the game called Gun Lance. And I'm not saying that Gun Lance is better. I'm just saying that, you know, when people start up the game and you hear there's Lance and then there's a Lance with a gun in it, which one do you think players are going to choose? But regardless, the Lance, despite how it looks, is actually a very mobile weapon. Its base attack scheme is really simple. You can actually just poke the monsters to death with one attack, basically, if you really want to, at a base level. So I actually say the weapon is great for beginners, learning both positioning on monsters and how to guard things. But even so, the Lance has a lot of depth to it. Even the most simplest weapons in Monster Hunter have a lot of advanced techniques you can learn. You have to learn how to counter guard. You have to learn how to 180 after you charge to get the most out of your damage. You have to learn when to sidestep and when to block. There's a lot of things that goes into Lance, and I don't think people give this weapon enough credit. It is honestly an amazing weapon all around. I would highly recommend it to any beginner who wants a mobile playstyle, but at the same time, wants to be up and personal in the monster's face and can take some blows. So now let's actually talk about the Silkbind attacks. And I have a theory here. I have a real theory I want to throw by you guys. Just from the trailers that have released so far and the weapons we've seen, I'm going to say these Silkbind attacks, basically for each weapon, have one defensive move and one offensive move, right? For the bow, we saw a back jump and then a buff, defense, offense. For the dual blades, we saw a spinning thing that probably ignores iframes or has armor, and a buff. And now for the Lance, what are we seeing again? Something that isn't quite so defensive, actually, I'd say the Silkbind, or the Twin Vine, is both offensive and defensive, as what it does, to my understanding here, is, from what I can tell, you latch something onto the monster. Because look, Puke's mouth is open, and when he finishes, he has this giant spike of metal sticking out of his mouth, which is honestly really cool. And what I believe he does here is he charges... Oh no, it's just a new move. Okay. Yeah, he basically just does a leaping charge to kind of close the gap, you know. And this is going to be really useful for Lance, because one of the #1 problems on Lance, I'll say, or I wouldn't say the #1 problem, really, but one of the problems I feel on Lance is because of how stiff it is at first, you have a hard time getting up to the monster sometimes. Like, a lot of people don't have the training yet when they play the game to put away their weapon and run towards the monster to get there like they should. So I think this is going to be a great tool for both experienced players and beginners to catch up to monsters who bulldoze all over the place. You know, we're talking like T-Rex, Nargacuga. I don't know why those ones specifically come up in my brain when I say this, but monsters like that, you know. And then the Anchor Rage, it's an attack buff. It is what it is. I will admit that Lance is my least played weapon in all of Monster Hunter, so I don't have its moveset, like, completely memorized like a lot of other people would. I've played every weapon in the game, don't get me wrong. I love every weapon, and I have experience in all of them. But Lance, I think the last time I actually played Lance was in Monster Hunter Tri. So it's been quite a while. But still, looks solid. I would probably recommend the Lance to anyone who wants a lot of mobility, but also wants the ability to get right up in the monster's face and protect themselves and just be relentlessly aggressive, because do not look down upon the Lance as being, oh, these people cower behind shields. The Lance is a very aggressive weapon. The thing is, because you have that shield and because you have options like different types of guards and different types of things to do, you can get right up in the monster's face and continue attacking, ignoring what they're doing. You know, every weapon basically goes, hey, it's my turn to attack, now it's the monster's turn to attack. The Lance goes, no, F that, I have this dinner plate strapped to my arm, you're gonna hit that, and I'm gonna go back in. So, yeah, and that's Pookie. He's still pretty as always. What the hell is that? What is that thing in the background? What is that? Is that a flying fish? Excuse me? Whatever, that's not the point of the video. Alright, now from one of the least popular weapons in Monster Hunter to the non-arguable most popular weapon, which is the longsword. The longsword is rad. It is so much fun. And I'll talk about how the longsword plays after we watch this initial clip. So let's see. First off, really pretty set. Digging the purple. I think I just saw Virgil's Judgment cut. Okay, we still have the EI slashes. We didn't get rid of that. Oh, that looked rad. I think they just silk bugged into Helm Splitter. At least that's what I called the move. And now we have a parry. Once again, one offensive move and one defensive. Well, I wouldn't say defensive. It seems like one offensive and a gap closer, which is what some of these weapons are getting. So before I get into talking about the rad things that are happening in this trailer, to explain the longsword. The longsword is a fantastic beginner weapon. In fact, a lot of people jump to it. And I'm going to say right now, before I continue saying this, I'm going to recommend a lot of things as beginner weapons. But at the same time, pick whatever weapon looks coolest to you. That is what I urge you to do. While some may be more complex, like the Charge Blade, or, you know, some things like, I won't say Greatsword is complex, but requires a bit of positioning. Pick what you like, you know, enjoy it. There's no hard lock. There's no you have to play this because you're new. Play whatever you want. But longsword as a weapon. Alright, well now let's actually talk about the weapon, the longsword in itself. The longsword is a weapon that has a lot of range and makes it easy to hit the monster, which is why a lot of people gravitate towards it as their first weapon. Literally, it is very hard to miss. On top of this, it has something called a spirit combo, which is basically a combo that is mapped to a button on your controller. And if you press it over and over again, you'll get a really cool combo, and if you get the last hit, your sword will change colors. And every time you finish this combo, I'm assuming that's how this weapon still works in this game. Hopefully they haven't changed the fundamentals. Every time you do this combo, your weapon gets stronger and stronger until it caps out at a certain damage multiplier. And it looks rad. And now you can spend this combo in a variety of ways. There's counters you can do, as you can see here. You can use the combo to do like a special Helm Splitter move, which does a ton of damage, which we just saw the person do as the Silkbind attack right here. The longsword is honestly a lot of fun. and I will never discredit it, is a lot of damage that is very easily acquirable. So yeah, now to talk about the moves themselves. First of all, I'm glad they brought back the EI Jutsu slashes. They're really fun. Even if they're a pain in the ass to pull off, when you do, it feels great. I think they added them in Double Cross, too? With, like, the new special Brave style or whatever. I actually didn't get a chance to play Double Cross. It's the only game since Tri I have not played. But yeah, it has most of its Monster Hunter World moveset tied to it, and with it we get this new Silkbind attack called the Soaring Kick, which basically launches you at the monster, and as you rebound, it seems like you get to do either a Helm Splitter or that straight down stab, or I'm assuming any aerial thing you basically want to. It doesn't quite show, you can't quite be sure here. But once again, it's another gap closer. It's a way to get to the monster and get your damage off, you know. It is the first way you spend it. And then the second one isn't actually anything all that new. As you can see, the monster swings every time before he starts. And this little judgment cut thing, I know I keep calling it judgment cut, but Devil May Cry lingo. It's a counter. The monster hits you, and then you hit it back for damage. How this differs from the EI Jutsu counter, I don't know. But what we can actually see here is that if you have a charge on your spirit gauge, which is, as you can see, the color of the sword's red, which is like max level. At least I'm assuming in this game it's going to be, just like old times. If you expend it, it actually takes off a level of the spirit gauge, because you can see the sword is now yellow. Meaning that this is probably going to be a new... I don't know if it's going to be an optimal way to do damage, but that slash is going to hurt. It's going to hurt like hell to whatever monster gets touched by it. Usually things where you have to expend spirit gauge. Oh, and you can go straight into the freaking... You can go straight into the freaking spirit combo from that. Jesus. That was nutty. Okay, I'm liking what I see here. They honestly didn't need to change much with Longsword, I'm gonna say. Longsword was already the most popular weapon in Monster Hunter World, so of course they'd want to keep it the same. Of course they'd want to make it familiar, because if it's people's favorite weapon, why would they change it? And I know some people did have some complaints about how Longsword currently works. They feel like the weapon is quote-unquote random, because some of the slashes for the Longsword, like the big damage dealing slashes, hit all over the body, and you can't easily choose where you're going to locate damage on the monster's body, which bothers some speedrunners, but for the casual player it doesn't really matter. So who would I recommend the Longsword for? I'd recommend the Longsword for someone who likes to have a bit of range on their weapon, really likes some stylish combat, and likes to have some options within their combos. Both defensive options and offensive options leave you a ton to learn with the Longsword, learning optimal parry timings, learning when it's good to do the Helm Splitter, when it's good to do the Spirit Slash. Even though it is a widely used weapon by a lot of people, and people like to call it, you know, the caveman Unga Bunga weapon, there is no doubt, just like every weapon in Monster Hunter, that there is a level of complexity to it. There are still things to learn. As always, your Monster Hunter journey's never really over when it comes to learning a weapon. You get better and better with it until you've kind of figured out a weapon truly. I spent a lot of time with bow in World, and it's more time than I've ever spent with the bow before, and by the end of the game, which is, you know, 200, 400 hours in, it's not like I only use bow in World, but by the end of it all, I was really, efficient in it, and I had a new understanding for what I loved about the bow and its playstyle. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I didn't want to make it too rambly, but I wanted to get a lot more information off than I did this last video. You know, I wanted to really talk about things, and I don't feel like I get down the nitty-gritty, but I definitely like to discuss weapons as they are. Anyways, if you like this video, please leave comments below talking about your opinions on these two current weapons and how you're liking how some of these skill sets are shaping up. If I got anything wrong, feel free to correct me, and I'll be awaiting to read your comments down below. If you like the video, leave likes. It helps me. Just do it. Also subscribe for more, because apparently I'm going to be doing this all week. Thanks, Capcom!